They say powerful things come in small packages. Apple decided to put that particular statement to the test when they updated the brand new iPad mini. This tablet is smaller, faster, and it's just darn cooler than previous Apple entries in the iPad mini family. But how has it held up over the past week? Let's find out. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. First up, before we dive into the video, a quick disclaimer. Well, again, it's the opposite of a disclaimer. Nobody provided, loaned, sent, or whatever other method of giving me this tablet. I pre-ordered and paid for this myself, and we don't even have another sponsor today. Now that we've got all of that out of the way, I want to go on record here in beginning to say that I'm very conflicted on this tablet. It's an absolute ton of fun to use, and carrying it around is a snap. I mean, it really kind of works for that middle ground. I would like a bigger screen than my iPhone, but do I really want to break out the giant iPads to watch Archer while I'm in bed? It's that kind of a device. And before we get too far down the rabbit holes of the things that I've liked and I've disliked, let's quickly cover the specs and ordering options if you've not yet immersed yourself in the world of the iPad mini. The base model of this tiny titan comes in at $499. For that money, you'll get the choice of 4 different colors: space gray, pink, purple, and starlight. You'll also get the latest 6-core A15 processor with that higher-end 5-core GPU. You'll get 64 gigabytes of storage, an 8.3-inch liquid retina display, and even a 20-watt fast charger in the box. You can upgrade this to 256 gigabytes of storage for $649 and can even add a 5G cellular connection to the device for about $150 more. Wow, was that it today? 4 colors and 2 storage options? I love it when specs are this easy. Now, with all of the foundation for the video set, let's get into what I've liked and disliked about this, the smallest iPad that I own. Like I said earlier, I'm really conflicted about this. It seems so awesome and so usable, and at other times, it's pretty frustrating to use. And something that's not really in the I hate it category, and it's not really in the I like it category, but I've been getting a ton of questions about it. Yes, I can absolutely see that weird jelly issue if I go looking for it. Did I notice it before I had to go look up what it meant? Nope. Do I see it in normal use? Nope. But like I said in a recent Twitter space with my friends Patrick and Greg, people have different reaction to different stimuli. What's not that big of a deal for me could absolutely be a big deal for you. So if you are worried about this jelly issue, I would go to an Apple store or other electronics store and mess around with one of these iPads to see if that very slight screen wobble really bothers you. Doesn't bother me, so moving on. Since we're already kind of talking about negative things, let's start off with the things that I actually dislike. And for a tablet that I like as much as this, there are an awful lot of them. First off, and the most frustrating thing about the iPad mini for me is its physical layout. And I say the physical layout because there are 2 things that just drive me up the wall here. 1, I absolutely do not like where the volume buttons are placed. I get that you've got to save some space and work some material design magic when you are making a device this small, but putting the volume dials on the top causes a few problems. When I want to change the volume, I have to let go of the tablet and reach for either the top in portrait orientation or the bottom side in landscape orientation, either of which is not a good place for it. 2, when you've got the iPad in portrait mode, it's really confusing which of these buttons raises the volume and which of these buttons lowers the volume. I figured that this would become muscle memory pretty fast, but a week later, and I never get it right the first time. And depending on which way you have this set up for landscape orientation will be a different way that you need to push this for up and down volume. It's a real finicky pain in the butt, and this could have been solved for all of the tablet's orientations by just putting the volume rocker on the side. All of the other iPads figured this out, and I really hope that the next iteration of the iPad mini figures this out too. I know you've got to balance the Touch ID and the volume rocker on this mini, but there's got to be a better solution. The other thing that I don't like about physical construction is where the pencil charges. So if you're going to use the Apple Pencil, it charges on the right-hand side of the tablet. So if you have this connected and you want to use it single-handedly, you pretty much need to use your left hand or your right hand's going to be messing around with the pencil the whole time. Well, where's the Touch ID unlocking button? It's on the upper right hand corner. So if you need to authenticate or unlock the tablet, you have to go all the way out of your way to hit this button. Could this be a minor nitpick? Maybe, but it happened enough over the past week for me to really remember this, and I hate tech that is frustrating. That's like my one thing that tech cannot be is frustrating to use. The next major thing I haven't liked is typing on this tablet. It's in this weird place where landscape mode is too small to comfortably type on. Like if I'm typing on my iPad Air or iPad Pro, it's more or less like typing on a regular keyboard when it's just laid down flat. But here, it's very cramped. And when it's in portrait orientation, it's just too big. Like I'm reaching my thumbs into uncomfortable places to try and send out that spicy tweet, or do a Google search. I have heard folks say that this is fine and works for them, so maybe I just have small hands, but typing is a very big part of my life, and the iPad mini is just kind of a pain to type on in any way, shape, or form. Something I've mentioned in previous videos, but want to bring up here that I also don't like is that this is missing the pretty standard iPad smart connector. What the smart connector is a little connection on the tablet that allows for some information and power to pass through on little dots instead of plugging something into the actual USB-C slot. For other iPads, this is primarily used for keyboard attachments, but I think smart accessory makers could probably do something very unique here. And no, I don't think a smart or magic keyboard would work on the iPad mini so much because of how small it is. I just think there are ways that this could have worked better, and I'm sad to see an iPad limited for accessories. That's like, iPads are versatile devices. The less versatile you make them, I don't like it. The next thing I haven't liked, and I'm not sure what to call this, audio mixing, audio balancing. I find that when I'm watching movies or TV shows on the Mini, it sounds like the audio is only coming out of one side. Now I know for a fact that that's not the case, as I've put both sets of these speakers up to my ear, and I can hear the sounds from both. But I don't know how they did this, but it sounds one-sided. To fix this, I set the iPad mini into mono audio, so both sets of speakers will do the same thing. And that's pretty much fixed the issue for me. I'm not really an audiophile, so I assume this is something wrong for me, but I didn't like it. And now you know. And the last thing that I haven't liked about the iPad mini is the UI scaling. The UI scaling here is just weird. It's so weird. It's baffling to me. Yes, iPad OS 15 has done some reworking of the UI on all the iPads, but on the Mini, it's just not very good because it takes the icon framework and scrunches it down to a very noticeable amount. I'm not normally one to complain about a user interface or the iPad one in particular, so keep that in mind here. Normally, I'm perfectly okay with the grids and everything. I don't mind it. There's just so much wasted space here in both portrait and landscape modes. It's just irritating. It is irritating. There are some accessibility things you can do here, like you can turn on the large icons, but I find that doesn't help as much here as it does on other iPads. Hopefully they'll either unlock the iPad grid or work on the scaling issues in a future update, because it's not good. Wow. Dang, you're being kind of mean today. I've now complained about this more than I normally talk in other videos, and you might think that would have caused me to hate this tablet. But that's the crazy thing about the iPad mini. All of those previous things exist, but this is still a ton of fun to use. So let's get on to the things I've liked. It's hard to talk about the mini without talking about the size. Here's the conundrum. Here's the paradox that is the iPad mini. While the size makes it a pain to type on, this is like a dream tablet for content consumption. I watch most of my movies, TV, YouTube. I watch all of that on my phone because carrying around an 11-inch or a 12.9-inch iPad, it's just not very practical. And even my nightstand, where I do most of my content consumption, it's just not big enough to hold one of those full-size iPads. But this mini is small and compact enough that it can basically go anywhere. You can basically take this anywhere and set this anywhere, and it's so good. It's essentially 3 of my iPhone minis for screen size, which is just the perfect amount. Plus, this disappears into a bag or a backpack, and the weight is small enough that you will never know that you have it until you need it. And that is exactly what I want out of my technology. I went into a whole spiel about that on the iPhone 13 minis video. I want technology that does not get in my way. Speaking of the screen itself, I also like that here. It's very similar to the iPad Air from last year, and we all know how much that I like that thing. Spoilers, a lot. No, it doesn't have ProMotion or those wild HDR features of the M1 iPads, but it looks real crisp and has a fully laminated display that looks 500 nits is a little on the dim side if you want to use this in full sunlight, but you have to start balancing out price at some point. 500 nits of brightness is still brighter than the 400 nits that my MacBook Air gets. The next thing that I've liked, and I really like, is the ultra-wide angle front-facing camera. We've seen here in the channel during our unboxing video that even under these studio lights, these cameras look good. And you might say to yourself, Gary, well, it's studio light. Of course it looks good. That's not how small sensors normally work. It's very hard to make these small sensors look good under studio light when they look very good under natural light. And we actually got to put the new camera in center stage to the test. Basically the entire week I've had this because my wife was out of town on a business trip, and this iPad mini was the conduit my son and I were able to use to keep in touch with her. The front-facing camera on this thing is really great, and I think this will become one of the new standards for portable team collaboration going forward. you can also get this camera on the new iPad Generation 9 for about $170 less, but that will get its own video here soon. The microphones are pretty good too, so thumbs up all around. All iPads and all quasi-professional devices need this exact same functionality from here on out. I also like to move over to USB-C. That makes using this with my MacBooks so much easier when they can all share the same port. It also charges faster, has better data transfer rates. It's just better and more open and less proprietary, which is a good thing for all of us. And as a swipe towards iPhones, if even this small tablet can do it, you know, they could probably figure out a way to make it work on the iPhones too. I've also really liked the power on display here. Now, I don't normally do much gaming or anything on a tablet like this. This has been able to keep up perfectly with all of the daily tasks that I've been putting it through. This will continue to be relevant for power in the years ahead. Plus, that CPU will make sure that you'll get the newest and latest operating systems and software features for years to come as well. Not a year, not 2 years, not maybe 3 years if you were lucky with the competition, but like lots of years. I mention it here because it's so easy to not realize that you don't get this elsewhere. Like if you're an Apple person, you're like, yeah, of course I'm going to get updates for years. Why would you even bring that up? But that's not the standard everywhere else. This thing is essentially like the top of the line iPhone, but slightly bigger and half the price. And with USB-C. Wow, if I could put my SIM card in here, I don't know why I would own an iPhone. Weird that. But at the end of the day, so what, right? Have I enjoyed using the iPad mini over the past week? Mostly yes. Mostly yes. Has this done unique things that no other device I own can match? Yes, absolutely. Would I recommend you buy one of these? Maybe. If you are looking for a very light and nimble tablet that will only really be used for organizing a calendar or watching movies or other things that only require you to tap on the screen, yes, absolutely. I love this tablet and it's the best device I own for those kind of things. If you are looking for an iPad that can be a versatile hub with which you can use in different circumstances, work, play, content creation, maybe even media creation, then no, I would still recommend the iPad Air for that, even though it is a little more expensive. The mini is cool and it's a ton of fun and I like it for the most part, but it's absolutely the most niche iPad of the bunch and you really have to have an understanding of your need to get anything out of it. This is just not something I would say wholeheartedly go out and buy. But, you know, maybe we'll see. We'll see if I've changed my mind when we get to the 1 month later video. And if you like this video and you've decided that you gotta have you some of that iPad mini technology, here's a link to my video showing all of my favorite and coolest accessories that I've been using with the iPad mini. And you can find that by clicking right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.